praise you. What you have done is doing, and you're getting ready to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, my good friend, I say a pleasant good morning to you.
Good morning, Bishop, and Valentine's Day, and I hope you're prepared for whatever you need to be doing, or for the significant other. Well, I guess he's gone. But anyway, good morning, everybody. Every day we rise is a great day to be alive, and the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and we are here with the Talk to the Town hosts, Leah Drake Stitt, Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Happy Valentine's Day to you all.
Same to you,
too,
James, and to
Yes,
you as
same
well,
to
Mr.
y'all.
Chapman
Yes.
and Connors. Happy Valentine's Day to three. I'm so lucky on a Valentine's Day to be on with three fine young men.
Oh, isn't that something?
How special
Yeah.
is that, huh?
Oh,
I love that, Connors. I love that.
There you go. Now, February is a very busy month. Like we just mentioned, Valentine's Day, Black History Month. Of course, it's also Heart Health Awareness Month, and which is why we have our special guest here this morning, Shawn Connors, who is a LVAD recipient, and he'll explain that later. And he's also a candidate for a heart transplant. And good morning, Mr. Connors. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here early this morning.
Early this morning.
Early this morning. Yes. Well, let's get right into it. And first, let me say Shawn Connors is a podcaster, social media content creator. As I mentioned, an LVAD patient and a heart transplant candidate. Lives in Hampton, grew up in Camelot, which he calls, we're cousins to Cavalier Manor. So he's connected with very well there. Went to D Creek High, and during his experiences at D Creek High, he had I.C. Norcom. His senior year, he told me he almost changed his address so he could experience the I.C. Norcom band. He had so much, appreciation for that band. He wanted to experience it, but he did end up going to Norfolk State, where, go ahead and do your
Okay,
thing.
behold the green and gold. Come on. Hey, go ahead, Mr. Connors. Can't hear it.
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it, Mr. Connors. Turn it up. Can't hear it. Turn it up.
Of course.
All right, that's
he's-
enough.
We couldn't hear it, Mr. Connors.
Okay, it's out here. Ah. Did you hear that?
I heard that part.
But anyway, for those who can't hear it, he's playing Talking Out the Side of Your Neck.
Talking out the side of your neck.
Famous songs they would play during football games. But anyway, Shawn, you're here in Heart Awareness Month, and you, a lot of us like myself, didn't experience heart issues until later on in life.
Right.
You had experienced heart issues very early in life. Tell us a little bit about your experiences and with heart related issues.
It started when actually I was born with a heart murmur, but it was big, and a lot of times, they kind of let it heal itself. So I had to have open heart surgery. I ain't ashamed of my age. I'm 47, and so when I was 3 years old, I had open heart surgery. So if you do the math, that is about 79, around there. And open heart surgery just for adults was new, but for kids, it was really new. I had my open heart surgery. It was me and three other young men doing that same. We was all about the same age. One of them didn't make it, and the other one lived to about their teenage years, which they promised. They said that all three of us, we weren't going to live. We may not make it past our teenage years, but God had a different plan. So that started it. So I'd always been under cardiac care my whole life. But I guess I kind of got complacent with it because you just kind of get used to the normal, and I didn't really have any problems. And then later in my late 30s, I started having issues with AFib and different things. And, you know, being a hard-headed man, I wasn't paying it no mind. And eventually I had heart failure and multiple heart attacks, which I really didn't realize it, and ended up having surgery, and they gave me my LVAD.
Wow, Shawn, you know, I talked about that too. My experience too. You know, us being hard-headed men, we get that news. The
Yeah.
doctor tells us what's going on, and you know, if you're in your 30s or something like that, you kind of shake it off because it's not something you're dealing with every day. You might feel bad one day, and the next day you might be out there playing pickup basketball.
Yeah.
So,
And then on my time, my wife I was more so worried about my wife at the time because she had got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So with me taking her back and forth to chemo, dealing with the stuff in the house and trying to work, you kind of put your own health on the back burner.
Mhm.
and explain, because you were working, you know, explain some of the jobs you had, because at one point you had to sort of stop the work because you just couldn't sustain a 8-hour job.
Well, I've always been lucky where I worked in technology. So when I did work, it was, and I also think that's part of the problem, because when I did work, lived a sedimentary lifestyle. You sit down at your desk, at your cubicle. The most exercise I was getting up, going to the coffee pot and coming back. So, you know, you kind of, because I worked all the way up until I had my my open heart surgery. But because I didn't, you know, have to like do a whole bunch of manual stuff, I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, and before the other co-host step in, I want to ask, you know, you got to the point where you need the LVAD. So for those in the audience that don't know what the LVAD is,
That's what I was about to
does,
ask. Good.
what the
So I
LVAD is.
always do that on purpose. I always drop in, just keep on talking, because I want people to ask me
Yes.
what it is, you know. But LVAD stands for left ventricle assist device. And basically it's a pump. So your heart has two sides. You have the left side and the right side. The left side pumps the blood out of your body. The right side pushes the blood into your heart. So it's a big old circle throughout your body. Well, the left side of my heart is the side that doesn't work. So this pump is what actually pumps the blood throughout my body.
And the pump, could you explain to them about the pump?
Okay, so the pump connects inside my heart, and there's a cord. It actually attaches to the side of your heart. There's a cord that runs down out of my abdomen into two batteries. Right now I have a little vest on, so you can't really see it. And I like it because it makes me feel like I'm walking around with two guns under my shoulder. But you have two batteries, and you either have it like a vest or you have a bag that you wear to carry your batteries. And a lot of people at first be like, I don't want to walk around with no bag, because I think the first thing people think about is like a colostomy bag, but it's not like that. It's different. I say God has a sense of humor. I've always been a gadget technology guy, and God turned me into a gadget because I have batteries I have to charge up at night. It's a whole thing. But yeah, that's what keeps me going.
And if there's an instance where you fail to charge your batteries, what are you facing?
We don't do that. So I always have multiple batteries on hand. Right now I'm in arm's reach of about 4. It's 2 that work simultaneously. So, and I always have multiple sets. I got sets in the car. Everywhere I'm at, I have sets. But you always have to have batteries. That's not something we want to think about.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I know they always tell you in the beginning when they're preparing you for it, the urgency of making sure those batteries are changed. Once if it gets to the point the alarm goes off and they have you rushing, you have time really, but they tell you that so you can make sure that you see the urgency in doing it. But you really have time if it gets there. And after a while, most of the time, you don't let it get to the point where the alarm goes off.
But
know,
I've had a couple of close calls. So I live in Hampton. I go to
Mhm.
church in Chesapeake. One Sunday, I forgot to change my batteries before I left the house. The night before, I had went somewhere. So I always have a battery pack in my trunk. So no matter what. And now I've had my LVAD so long, I got multiple batteries. But for that night, I had brought the batteries in and I meant to charge them and I just didn't do it. I guess I was too tired, fell asleep. I get all the way across the tunnel, all the way into Portsmouth, almost to Chesapeake, and my batteries start beeping. So Mr. Overton, you remember this sound. Hold on, I'm gonna let you hear the sound that you hear. To let you know that something's wrong. This is one of my batteries. And if I take it out, it's gonna start screaming. And you hear that.
Uh-huh.
So, driving across the tunnel, anything can happen, right?
You're right about that. My goodness.
When you hear that, they
Yes.
tell you have about 10 minutes, but actually you have about 15. But they don't want you to, because it's a backup, it's a battery that is redundant. So you have these two batteries, but there's a smaller battery in what's called your controller. And that's the brain of the system. If you watch any Marvel movies, I always consider myself like Iron Man. You know how Iron Man had the arc reactor that powered him, the little round thing? That's similar to what the controller is. But that controller has a battery in it that will last about 10, 15 minutes. But that's it. So I turn around the middle of traffic or the middle of the interstate and just start flying through the tunnel. Like I had got all the way to Deep Creek. Like I was all that far in. So I fly across 664. I get to Hampton in record time, like 10 minutes. Thank to God there was no tunnel back up. There was no cop out there because they would have got me and they would have just had to follow me to my house. So it only takes one time and then you don't forget anymore.
Yeah, because if it goes out, you probably will faint. You probably will lose consciousness.
Well, I know I've had my cord, the cord that comes out of me, I've had it changed and they had to repair it. And when they repair it, they actually have to unhook it from my controller. And as soon as they unhooked it, I felt it. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. Because you could it was like the energy just sucked up out of me. And as soon as they plugged it in, it was like, I'm back.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, Shawn, you mentioned the left side is your problem and it was my problem. But sometimes people have problem with the right side failing, which is much more serious because most of those people, if the right side fails, you have to be hospitalized. And it might be more advanced now, but they used to have to, the system they used to have to use to help you with your right side was huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still it, and you have to stay. You can't so the LVAD, I can have active life and go around, but if you get an RVAD, you have to stay in the hospital for that.
Right. Until a heart comes, Isabel.
And how long have you had your LVAD?
It would be 7 years, March the 2nd.
Now, I watched the podcast with you and James, and you are eligible to have a heart replacement, right?
We're working on that.
But you're kind of leery as to whether you want to go that route or not.
Well, so that's a common. I'd never considered that until I started doing my podcast and then started talking to people all over the world that had LVADs. And to me, it was always you get the LVAD to sustain you before you get a heart transplant. But then I started meeting people like there's some people that they just don't qualify for a heart transplant. So LVAD is destination for them. That's what it's going to be. And then I've talked to some people that are like, I've had the LVAD so long, I know what I'm dealing with. And I don't know if I want to, because getting a heart transplant is still risky for some people.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Mr. Over can tell you the upkeep is a lot. And some people's like, I'm just tired of all this medicine and stuff. So I've quite honestly, if they call, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. But I've thought about that, because I'm comfortable with it now. I can do almost anything I want. The only thing in the back of my mind is there's a mechanical thing in me,
Yes.
and mechanical things fail.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
But with the
yes.
LVAD, you don't have to take all the medications that James is taking now after he's had his heart transplant.
It
Am I correct?
depends on your situation. Yes, I took a whole lot more medicine right after my surgery.
Mhm.
Well, now I don't take as many. I might take about 6 different prescriptions. But before it was a lot. So my medicine will, especially with the anti-rejection drugs, it would be more. It'll be more medicine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you mentioned destination, and 2 terms in the LVAD world is destination and bridge.
Mhm.
And if you have an LVAD and you're bridging, that means you're waiting for a heart. And the destination is that you're just gonna live your life with the LVAD the rest of your
Mhm.
life. And one of the things that when you have an LVAD, you're much healthier, and that means your position on the list for a heart drops.
Mhm.
You know,
It's a catch-22. So the healthier I get, the lower I am to get a heart.
yeah, it's someone that really needs it. You know, you skip on. And I've seen people with the LVAD just have it a month and get the heart. But a
Mhm.
lot of things have to play in. You know, does that heart fit in? Was the person 6'5" like me, or was the person 200 some pounds? Blood type. So some people fall into a blood type or those categories that get their heart real quick.
Mhm.
And James, and that's a good message for people to understand that you just can't get any heart. The heart has kind of measure up to the person who's receiving the heart. The person who's giving the heart has to measure up to the person who's receiving the heart. So I, as if I were 4 feet tall, I cannot give James a heart.
No.
Now,
Correct.
what about female to male heart?
Gender doesn't matter. I know
Yeah,
some
gender doesn't matter.
gender doesn't matter. As long as the heart fits in the category like you just mentioned.
Now, I'll
You
tell
know.
you what does matter that people don't talk about a lot, and that's one of the things that I'm on with my own community is race matters. Race matters because race and blood type and all that they correlate, and body type that matters. So a lot of us as Black people don't believe in organ donation,
Mhm.
and you're not realizing that you're not helping the next man. You know, think about your uncle, think about your brother. It really matters that brown people or people of color look into organ donation. Now, I know, I've grown up Black my whole life. I know we have some trust issues, but it's certain things you got to do for yourself. And it's Black History Month. So let's talk about how the person who invented open heart surgery
Right.
was Black.
Dr. Drew.
Let's talk about the person who makes the pacemaker that keeps me going
It's
was
Black.
Black.
That's right.
So,
But
you know,
before
we
we
got
say that, since we got a new governor and this CRT stuff, let's do this disclaimer here, and because we don't want to get thrown off in jail, you know, from those who are censoring us. But the views listed here of this show of those at the host and our guests, and not of the radio station. So we don't want to get put in Facebook jail or either have the Attorney General coming after us and the governor will be down at your house in the morning talking about race, because it's going to make
right,
some uncomfortable when you say Black people, the word Black people.
right.
So yes.
But y'all, Black people did all that. Yes.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did, without a doubt.
Yeah, and thank God for the Black person with the defibrillator and the pacemaker, because you mentioned that. That's also something you have to have in you. So you're really a mechanical man. You got the LVAD, you got the pacemaker, and now they have a pacemaker combination defibrillator.
And that's what I have. I have the combo.
Which is was jumpstart your heart if you need it. And that happened to me. That thing will knock you off.
I was getting ready to ask you, did yours ever go off?
Yes, it did. I was going to work. I didn't have the LVAD. I had the defibrillator, was going to work, and all of a sudden, you know, my heart must have.
You were driving?
No, had gotten to work.
Okay.
And I was going to work, and I guess my heart had skipped a jump or something, and that thing went off. Bam! You know, it didn't knock me off my feet like some people say, but it almost, because I forgot I had it, you know, and all of a sudden this thing just goes off. But it saved my life right there, standing later. So that's some of those things you go through. But you mentioned the Black history and also the Charles Drew, the one, the
Mhm.
blood plasma, which most heart patients need a lot of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ironic it was that, with
He
him,
passed away the same way. Yeah.
Yes. He couldn't get it.
Mhm.
intubated because of race.
Mhm.
They wouldn't accept them in the hospital that was close enough.
So yeah, all that matters. And then another thing we don't talk about is a lot of the diseases that we have is because of directly. All right, go ahead. You might, Mr. Chapman, you might have to give your disclaimer again after I say this. But a lot of the health problems we have are directly related to the diets we were fed as slaves. Sorry, y'all, slavery happened. Sorry, y'all fed us nasty stuff, but we turn it around and now it's a delicacy. Have you seen the price of oxtails lately?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
But I said that to say, the diets that they fed us with the food that they didn't want to eat and the leftovers and the worst parts of the pig, we ate that and ate it over generations and generations and generations. And there's people surprised why we have high blood pressure and why we have diabetes and why is heart disease such a prevalent thing in the Black community. That's why.
Yes, and you are so correct. And the things, it's entwined in us, and it's part of the everyday makeup. It's almost like a genetic thing, and that's why we need to have more research. And the more these young folks that are going to school, we need to start growing our next Drews and people that are going to study us, so we can have those scientific breakthroughs, so we can survive. So the other thing I was going to ask you, one is with an LVAD, that is making your blood continuously move throughout your body. Am I correct?
Yes.
So you have no heartbeat.
Correct.
So if you fainted tomorrow and the EMS comes,
yeah, somebody has to tell him, don't get him compressions. He's alive.
Yeah. You'll kill him if you do.
So when I first got it, I'm a practical joker. So I used to do that to people, or would go to a doctor that didn't know and would just let the nurse start taking my blood pressure. And she get this look on her face like, something wrong with this guy. But yeah, I don't have a pulse. And it's really funny when people, like my kids love coming by and just putting their head on my chest, because it's a machine. And you don't hear a bump, 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 bump. You hear a because it's a motor running.
So you have no pulse.
Correct.
No blood pressure.
Correct.
Wow.
So, and experience that happened to me, the guys, I fell in the house when I first had the LVAD, and they came and the guy, the firefighter came and went to take my pulse. And I didn't have one, but the look on his face. And I'm standing there talking to him. And he said, and that's why I made sure I talked to the fire chief to let them know that they need to be educated, because there's a lot of people out here with LVADs. And, if they come there and they start doing that compression, and you got that machine in you,
they can do some serious damage. Yeah.
So is there anything that you carry around to, so that if something should happen to you and someone comes in and they think they need to revive you?
I should wear a life alert. Excuse me. But I usually don't go anywhere where nobody knows me anyway. So everybody already knows. That's a part of my personality. It's a part of me now. But yeah, it's technically you should have like a life alert bracelet.
Yeah, but overconfidence is going to do you in. So you need to back that statement up and go ahead and do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. Because
not everybody will be aware, especially when something happens. They may know you, but they forget because of the adrenaline flow. And they'll forget everything. They forget that your heart, have a heart history. They'll just be panicking. I've seen it before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yes, so that's your lesson for the day.
All right, I'll take that.
And Shawn,
Keep you around.
you asked me at one time, what would I tell? And you told me a story, and I almost had forgotten. When I got my heart, you were like 2
Yeah.
doors away from me in the hospital.
Yep.
And during that time, they would ask people that have gone through LVADs or experienced something to talk to people that were considering LVAD. And you said I came in there and talked to you.
And and now after I thought about the story too, we were going to meet regardless if you had done that or not, because my mom has a mutual friend of yours, Dr. O, and Dr. O was trying to get me to talk to you anyway. So we would have met. We would have met.
Orion Willis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. That's my classmate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Orion. He's an Orion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Orion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Orion. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's
Y'all know y'all can't go nowhere and pour something not know nobody else.
Exactly.
You know that.
Exactly.
Well, this being Heart Awareness Month, it's important for people to realize, and especially women, when we talk about women, because symptoms of heart failure and heart issues are different for women sometimes. It can almost manifest itself in something like heartburn, and as opposed to a man. You know how they say you get weakness in your arm or feel the tightness in your chest, and women might experience it a little different than men. So it's just about being aware first of your history. And Shawn, you mentioned about from slavery, we're like predisposed of a lot of things. So knowing your history, family history, is very important. So you can sort of take preventative measures, knowing that it's in your family history.
And I think it's almost like a marketing thing too, where all this time we've heard that's the number one killer with men, but it's also the number one killer with women. And with women are very strong. I'm sorry about my phone, y'all. Women are very strong, and you guys have babies. And from what I could understand, me having open heart surgery was the equivalent of having a baby.
Wow.
And so I don't want to feel that pain, and you guys just do it. I'm sorry, I heard this phone. You guys just do it. And sometimes being a strong woman and having that high tolerance for pain, you might have some symptoms and just be like, oh, it's just stress, or, I'm just tired. So it's just as important, if not more important, for women to get checked, because they're not checking for women or putting that information out there like they should.
And so what you're saying, when you go for your regular checkup, ask your doctor to please.
You got to be your own.
You have to be your own advocate. Can you check my heart?
Right. And as Black people, we already know we got heart condition, high blood pressure, diabetes. Yeah, you should always check that off the top. That's for the first thing.
And prostate.
So it's more than just
because I'm getting to that age now, and prostate. Yes.
And it's more than just taking my pulse, listening to my heart. Need a little more of a workup there.
Yeah.
So
especially now for all the big offices, when we were coming up, co-hosts, when we were coming up, you had that singular doctor that knew you, knew your family, and they would go through all those things. And now sometimes you don't even see the doctor. You might see
the nurse practitioner. Yep.
Which is good too. I sometimes I prefer to see my nurse practitioner because they take more time with me. The doctor just sticks his head in, and not putting the doctors down, because God bless them too. They're saviors. But the offices have gotten so big now, they'll run you through, and so sometimes you have to ask for certain tests to be done, because like you were mentioning, Shawn, they do the the blood pressure, check your heartbeat or whatever, and some of those things that really detect some things that might be going on, they don't really do unless you ask for it. So you have to be proactive in your own health these days. And
and while we're talking, Gary Harris has shared some good information. He said you can understand what you should do to enjoy a healthy, happy life poor lifestyle choices contribute significantly to development and progression of preventable chronic diseases. So he's saying how you need to improve your lifestyle choices, how you need to get your exercise in. He went on to share with us that Portsmouth has partnered up with Healthy Living, where you can win prizes and games. And so you just sign up by going to, and it's all trying to promote good health. You can go to Portsmouth, Virginia, at Portsmouth, hashtag Portsmouth, Virginia, or www.youtube.com, and they sign you up so you can become a part of this Healthy Living Choices. And we do have to make better choices. We do have to stop being so sedentary. We need to get up and move. Even if you just get up, even if you just get up and walk for 30 minutes a day, it's an improvement than just sitting around.
Yeah. But speaking of improvement, Slim, we're getting ready to transition to 7 o'clock hour. You want to tell our folks that we're getting ready to get out of here?
Sure. We'd like to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for listening. And we appreciate it. And we're going to transition over to Facebook Live only. Join us there if you'd like. And also join us next week as we during Black History Month. We will be featuring Black Radio, and our special guest will be Chester Benton, aka
Hey, my godfather.
AP and all those stations, those people that remember that. But he will be on and doing a great talk about the history of Black radio in the Hampton Roads area and beyond. So join us for that very special show that we will have. He is the station manager of this station at WGPL and WPCE, the Christian Broadcasting Station. So we'll see you then. All right. Shawn, I wanted to ask you, you have your podcast at the LVAD, and you've done that for a while, and you've had a chance to talk to people. And I know it's always good for heart patients to experience, to talk to others that experience. It helps, because you can always bring that mental health part into it, because when you're going through that and have to make that decision, it can affect you up here a little bit. I mean, hearing that news, I always tell the story. The first cardiologist told me, he said, "You'll be fine. You just need a new heart." I mean, he said it so casual, and this was way in the beginning. And hearing that, he said it like pulling teeth, "You'll be okay. You just need a new heart." And I'm thinking, a new heart, and so that's something that could really affect you mentally. But all the people you've had the opportunity to talk to, how has that helped you talking to other people with similar experiences, and dealing with, because sometimes you might sit down and say, why me? Why do I have to go through this? And you've been going through it all your life. So how is talking to other people and hearing their experiences help you mentally or emotionally deal with what's going on?
Well, and I think it's funny that you asked that, because during this surgery, as you know, it's a big surgery. It's a very expensive surgery. And they do an extensive workup on you before the surgery, if you have time, because some people don't have time. Like, it's an emergency, they got to have the surgery. In my case, I was in the hospital for about 2 to 3 weeks before I had the surgery. So I said that to say they work on your physical so much that I don't think they prepare you mentally for what you're about to go through. And that's been a common theme with a lot of the people I've talked to. It's like, well, yeah, I felt great and I got out the hospital, but mentally I wasn't prepared for the recovery, what it was going to be like, the change in my body. You don't think about that kind of stuff. But one of the things that did help me was seeing other people like me doing things, just regular things, and then I've started meeting people who've done incredible things like weightlifting, and this guy drives race cars, and, and they have LVAD. So that lets me know, it's not a death sentence. And, that reminds me that people are watching me too. So I don't want to give that ambiance that, it's over. life is done. Because it's done. I got a whole lot of living to do. I got kids I got to chase. I want to see my kids graduate, So being able to see other people react and work, and not only in the country, but all over the world, has been great. It's been great motivation.
Mm-hmm. One of the, now that we're talking about hearts and transplants, there's a controversy over vaccination status. Mm-hmm. And there's on the internet and in the news is saying there's been a couple people that have been sort of kicked off the list because of their political beliefs, and they've listened to right-wing media and says, I don't want to get this vaccination. So they would rather not get a vaccination than get a heart. And so what's your opinion on that?
Well, when you go through a situation like this, Mr. Oberman would tell you, your heart team, whatever my heart team says do, I do. They have kept me alive for now going on 7 years. I don't think they're going to do nothing to jeopardize my health now. I'm an expensive person. This surgery is very expensive. This equipment I have in me is very expensive. So they don't want to see that just go to waste. You know what I mean? But with that said, there's a lot of things qualifications you have to do to qualify for a heart. Now, we're not even going to talk about vaccinations. You got to be a certain weight. You got to be healthy enough. You got to be active. You got to be, they don't like to say it, but you got to be a certain age. Mm-hmm. So there's other things you can't, you got to have clean drug tests. So that can keep you from getting a heart. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of things that, you got to kind of come into alignment with. And like Mr. Overton was saying, it's a whole lot of pieces that got to fall in place. So if you don't want to get your vaccination and that's risking you of getting your heart, then you may not really want a heart.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's your choice. If you want to do that, that's fine. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Be you, do you. But don't look at me funny when you ain't got no heart.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Back in the 70s, my mother had to have a heart valve replacement. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they replaced it with a pig valve. Mm-hmm. Now they're replacing heart. They did one gentleman, they replaced his heart with a pig's heart. What are your thoughts and what have you heard about that type of heart transplant?
Me personally, I'll just stick with the LVAD. I don't want no. So like, I like cars. I'm a car guy. Like, I don't want no aftermarket parts on my car. So I don't want no aftermarket parts in me either. I'll take a human heart. Yes, we'll do a refurbish.
So did you read up on that? Was it that?
I mean, they've been experimenting with that for years.
But the person who received it, was it that the LVAD was not working for him, or they could not get a human heart?
I don't know. They never mentioned that. Yeah.
But he seems to be making it with that pig's heart, right?
Yeah, more power to him. But we already talked about how bad the pig was for us back in the day.
They're gonna give the pig
I just ain't gonna put one inside of me.
The pig said, "I got you to where you are today. Are you eating me? Now I'm gonna come back and save your life. I'm coming inside of you."
Next round of advancing technology and advancing science. And so they've been working, or thinking about doing this in the laboratory forever. Mm-hmm. And so we're at the point now that because we don't have enough donors out there for anything, your hearts, kidneys, pancreases, and everything that there's not, the list grows wider and wider every year because especially amongst us, and when we're for our population, we don't donate at the same rates at death than other populations, and that's why we go to the bottom of the line. And there's other things that are in there that throw us at the bottom, just because there are disparities in healthcare also that we as a people suffer by, and so. It just adds up, that's just one part. And so maybe one day that might be the thing, you need such and such. and you got a pig there donating to you, or it might be a sheep next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that gentleman probably has some underlying circumstances that didn't qualify him for
A heart
a human
transplant.
heart.
Yeah.
So,
Or
but
LVAD, yeah, because you got to qualify for LVAD.
I mean, they take you through. I mean, wow, and he probably qualified for being a test for that, and he had
Yeah.
nothing to look
Yeah.
because
To say
if he didn't get the human heart, he wouldn't survive.
exactly.
So being a part of that test was, something that probably would help in one way or another, or help the science further.
Yeah.
You know,
So I'm
I
just
got to mention this. There is a heart transplant Olympics for heart transplant patients all over the world to participate in this big Olympics. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's a big thing for people who have gotten new hearts to participate in this Olympics. You know?
what are you gonna do, James? You're gonna go sit on the bench while we play basketball?
Yeah, that's my MO. You know,
No, you're gonna play. You're gonna play, my friend. You're gonna show them a new James. You're gonna play. But let me
Mhm.
ask you this. So you're saying that for the LVAD, you have to go through similar procedures as for a heart transplant as becoming eligible to receive your LVAD?
Yeah, yeah. Or if not, even maybe even more stringent. Like I tell everybody, they check me from the Rudy to the Tootie.
Uh-huh.
From to the point taking out wisdom teeth. I got all kinds of scans. If there was something else wrong with me, I would have known, because they wanted to make sure that your surgery was going to be successful and you didn't have any other underlying conditions. So like I had CAT scans and whole body scans, and they checked my teeth, they checked my skin, they checked everything. So yeah, it's really strenuous to qualify to get the LVAD. And like I said, it may be even harder, just as hard to get the heart, because once you get the LVAD, now you gotta start a whole nother path. So like with me, it's my weight. I don't seem like a big person, but my BMI is higher than what they want. So I've been struggling with that. So that can just something like that can list you or unlist you. And is the transplant list is dynamic. Just because you're number 7 right now doesn't mean tomorrow you want to be number 7, because somebody sicker than you can bump you. So, or you can get sicker and bump somebody else, or you can get better and somebody can bump you. So it's no, I'm number I'm number 3 and I'm always going to be the next 2 people. No, it doesn't happen. Somebody can have an accident and bump you, and then they get the next heart. So
Yeah.
so I have to try to live my life the best I can with what I have now, but just believe and hope that and have faith that God's going to give me that transplant. But I'm not going to sit around the house and woe is me. We're going to do some stuff.
Exactly. So the message that we need to give to everyone who's listening in is that we have to develop a healthier lifestyle. And Michelle Smith is saying we need to grow our own vegetables. Well, and many in the Black community, some of the Black communities are food deserts, and they don't get very nourishing foods into some of these communities. And so it's important that we watch what we eat, we watch how we prepare what we eat, get out there and move every day, get out there and take some steps every day. And if you can, get into the gym and get some strengthening exercises going. But we really have to change our lifestyle. I know since coronavirus, I have not been good at taking care of myself. I've not walked like I used to walk. I used to walk every day, but I've not done that since coronavirus. So we really have to walk, drink our water, watch what we eat, and really take care of ourselves. Because I mean, just in this past week, I had 3 friends to die from massive heart attacks. 3 friends. So, it's important that we get our heart healthy. And as you said, we need to ask our doctors when we go for annuals, please check my heart as well.
Yes.
Check my heart as well. So.
Well, you know what, Leah, since you mentioned the pandemic and COVID has popped up, it is a fact that yes, Americans have foregone a lot of the preventative checkups on ourselves. You know, we don't get enough colonoscopies. We don't get our hearts checked. We've avoided going to the dentist. We avoided going to the doctors and seeing our providers just because of COVID. And it has put a backlog on that. And so we really need to get back there and just to be safe, wear your mask and make that appointment.
Exactly.
And you have to be more aggressive now too because of COVID, because they're doing stuff like limited patients and limited elective surgeries and things like that.
Video conferencing with your doctor, you know, not seeing the doctor in person. So,
or making an appointment and not being able to be seen for months at a time now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean,
take care of yourself. Because one, if you look at it statistically, wear your mask out there. I know everybody's getting rid of the mask mandates and they say that the numbers are going down. But if you really look at it, like here we'll use the state of Virginia, since we're in the state of Virginia, they've started rolling back the testing facilities, which is going to affect the numbers.
Exactly.
So it's going to be worse out there, but the numbers are going to be reflecting that it's getting better. So be smart, America and Virginia. Wear your mask and act as if this is still a pandemic, because people in Richmond don't care.
Tell y'all the truth though.
Yes.
I didn't spend so much money on my mask, and I like to match. I'm gonna be wearing my mask. I got too much investment in that, and they're gonna have to tell me to stop wearing my mask because I kind of like it. So yeah, I'm gonna be masked up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've gotten into the matching. I was there in the beginning with the matching. Now I just moved to the N95. So it's so much easier.
Oh, I got colorful N95s. You can get colors.
I've just bought some N95s in all different colors. So
yeah.
But before, the patterns had to match and all of that, you know. So that's come to a close. And you know, and just being mindful of where you are and who you're around, and you know, you have to take charge of your health. You have to be in charge. So
exactly. I like to think it's people like Shawn and I that are advocates for people not having to go through what we went through. Heart awareness is about not getting to this point.
Right.
You know, you are blessed to be given a second chance, but I wouldn't want anybody to go through what I went through.
And I was just having that conversation with my son yesterday. He had a whole bunch of candy in his room stashed up. It was supposed to be for today, Valentine's Day, and giving that to his class, but he will take his off the top, right, and have it all up in his room. And I was telling him, I don't want you to have to go through what I went through. You help me change my batteries every day. You see what I have to go through with making sure my sugar and everything's in control. If you nip that in the bud now, it's not going to be a problem later.
How old is your son?
7.
7. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm tired. He's 11.
Okay. That's a big difference there.
Yeah, he'll have fit.
Yeah.
He thinks he's 35 though.
Of course. But it's good that you're starting them on healthy lifestyles, and I think that's something that and because the food they're getting in the schools,
it's terrible.
It's terrible.
We used to think those little square pizzas were.
Yes, I mean,
I would love to have one of the pizzas right about now. but back in my day, the cafeteria ladies cooked.
Yes.
And there was people in our community. So the cafeteria lady went to my church.
Yes.
So, and they actually cooked. They got there early in the morning and they cooked.
That's right. Listen.
You may not have wanted it. You may have always went for the hamburger or the chicken sandwich, but they had real meals back then.
Real meals.
And now they don't even do that. My kids was complaining and I was like, oh, y'all playing. And I went and saw what they had.
Everything is processed. Everything is processed now. You know, and that's the one thing we were saying about at Norcom. Miss Lewis would cook those hot yeast rolls, and she cooked those fish sticks and mashed potatoes with cheese and corn and tang. You had to have some tang with it, okay? But
and even the stuff we weren't supposed to eat. Did y'all have the big cookie?
Yes, the big cookie.
Yeah, it was. 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 It was.
Yes, yes,
That big
yes,
cookie they used to
yes.
make early in the morning. I used to get to school early. See, now that might have kept me in school because I used to get to school early to
To get the
get
big
that big
cookie.
cookie right out the oven.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah. So
Let me mention this too, and I think Shawn, we talked about this as far as, and you mentioned a little bit about the cost and preparing. I always talk to people about, when, especially young folks, when you're preparing for your retirement down the road, also consider health issues challenges that might come up at a certain point. So you have to factor that in, because if you don't, a health issue like I think I've had 3 open heart surgeries. The cost of that, even with good insurance,
Mm-hmm.
dip into your savings, to a point where, it's unexpected, because you might feel like, okay, I'm set. I got all these things going on. And Colonel, we talked last week about generational wealth, and there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of things you can do to make sure, with investments and everything, but not everybody does that. And they think they're okay until one of these things come up with you or a family member, and those calls come in. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to sort of, consider that. You might feel healthy today. Like I was playing pickup basketball every day. Of course, I was a smoker at that time too. So cut that out.
Yeah.
mhm,
Limit your alcohol. I'm not saying cut it out, but limit your alcohol
mhm,
intake. Watch your sodium intake.
mhm.
Uh, I didn't know everything in the grocery store had sodium until I had to
Everything.
start watching how much sodium, anything in a can, 400, and they told me to watch sodium. Everything we looked at in the grocery store had sodium in it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And
So you have to take those things, but especially that insurance. Make sure you
And not
prepare.
just so in the Black community, we have to talk about life insurance, but we also need to talk about
yep.
long-term disability insurance,
Mhm.
stuff like that. That saved my life. To this day, I get a check because
Mhm.
my wife was smart enough to fill out the long-term disability insurance.
Mhm.
The insurance game is not a joke. So
Mhm.
health insurance, life insurance, those insurances they give you on your job,
Mhm.
consider that. Don't be
Yes.
like, oh, I want to save a little couple dollars, because
Yeah.
in the long run, that could really make a huge difference in your life financially.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, even in the 401k, don't do the minimum match.
Mm-hmm.
If the company is matching, you know, put more in there to take less home every week.
Mhm.
You appreciate it down the road, believe me.
Yes.
It's no joke, because those those costs, you know, and even after you get past the hospital bills, I have to go to the heart failure clinic every 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
you know, and certain things they order, depending on what they detect. But it's a cost, and then in between getting older anyway, I think I got a doctor for
Everybody part.
every body part. I got a toe doctor, so um, so just think about that now, when you're young and healthy. What could happen down the road
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
to interfere with what you thought was uh, a good savings plan,
Mhm.
a good
Mhm.
retirement plan? Consider the health issues that
Because
might.
all it takes is one illness, not even a sickness, just one
Yep.
illness, and
Believe me, there's a
it'll
lot of
wipe
Well,
you
truth to
out.
that.
if we look back in revisionist history, when President Obama was got elected, and he started the ACA, was what is now known as Obamacare, and pre-existing diseases, and then uh, they wrapped that up into his program. And he made a statement. He says that yes, and it's a true statistical fact, is more people go into bankruptcy or into family failure because of the cost of health care.
Healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if we roll back and how it is now 10 years later, even COVID, you go to the hospital and you're on the ventilator for 3 months. If you survive, those healthcare costs are coming back. Those hospitals want that money. And that is wrecking a lot of families. And so we're going to have a reckoning of that fact later on. And actually, here's another fact, is that those who fought against Obamacare or the ACA are that were forced to get it. Now they're loving it because now those costs from COVID going to hospitalization were covered. If they would have won and gotten rid of the ACA, just think of now we've got 1 million people out there that have died, and not counting the other folks. Think of it on the economic costs without the ACA today. Just a fact to be said.
Yeah, and touching back on the insurance thing, so you don't understand a lot of those rules of insurance until you have to get it.
Mhm.
You don't want to wait too late to get life insurance, because if something happens to you like happened to me, I can't get any new life insurance. It's impossible. Then nobody will cover me because of the situation that I'm in. So as a younger person, that's when we need to have these conversations. It affects you. Not only does it affect me, I can't get life insurance for my kids because you have to be on a policy with your kids until they reach a certain age. I can't. So until they reach a certain age and they can do their own policies, I can't do that. So we have to educate ourselves on some of those things, because that's another way. You guys were talking about generational wealth. That's how white people do it. You know, they died, uncle died, leave them a whole bunch of stuff. They take that money, invest it, roll it out, and that money keeps flipping in the family. It just keeps flipping. And a lot of people are spending money that their parents and their people made way back in the Civil War. You know, they ain't touching on new money.
That's true.
Yeah. But we're looking at the car dealership, and it's gone in 6 months, no matter how much they get. And so we have to have that educational talk and to talk to our kids and grandkids and say, hey, this is the way we want to do, this is the way you should do it if you still want to, have a better standard of life later on. To talk about, what is generational wealth and what is investing and and those kind of topics.
One of the things, and I know it's a little bit off topic, but one of the things I see with my generation, especially now that we're raising kids, we're teaching our kids how to hustle and how to get the money, but I don't know if we're teaching them how to properly invest the money once you got it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's what our show was last week about. And we will have more shows concerning that, because that education needs to get out there. And Shawn, you're right. Even though we get a second chance of life, after getting that second chance of life, we are high risk now. And nobody's going to insure you, no matter if you're 7 years out or 15 years out, you're still at a high risk, or you have a body part that's not original. And
that's something that they don't never ever talk. They'll tell you about everything else, but they won't tell you about that.
Yeah. Okay, winding down, and Shawn, I think you always on your podcast, you have a last question for your guests, and mine would be the same for you.
All right.
And I guess we discussed a lot of the things, but what would be, if you were walking into a hospital room today, talking to a young person, somebody in their 20s, that's considering, that's at the point where they need either a LVAD bridge, what would you tell them to try to convince them? Because remember, I told you the story, and I hope this doesn't get us in Facebook trouble. I was talking to a fellow that was considering, a young man was considering the LVAD, and we went through the whole spiel and everything. My wife was in there talking to his significant other about, the care that they have to do. And the first question he asked me was, will I be able to have sex?
Yes.
That was his question.
Yes.
And
you said that fast. Yes.
Yes. And now you got a battery, so yes.
Kind of threw me off. That was his first question. You might say, well, how long will I live? His question was, that's why I put you talking to a younger person, because that might be on their mind. So what would you tell them as far as if
Well, I
they're
would
considering,
say if
or
you
they
want to
have,
still, if you want to keep having sex, you need to consider getting this LVAD. And the sex will be better because you'll feel better. And okay, if we're gonna talk about it, sex is about circulation, especially with men. And if you're not getting proper circulation, you ain't doing it right.
Mhm.
So it would improve your life dramatically in all kinds of ways. But I will also tell them it's how bad you want it too.
Mhm.
It's not going to be easy, but it's not going to be as hard as dying. But
Mhm.
if you really want this, to me, that's what it was. Is that LVAD was the exercise on how much I wanted to live. Did I want to do what I need to do to qualify for the LVAD?
Mhm.
Did I want to do what I need to do to survive and recover with the LVAD? And if you want to still keep living your life and live it to the only thing I can't do is swim and get in the water. That's the only thing I can't do. And so if you want to keep doing and keep living, then go ahead. If you want to die, keep doing what you're going to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't believe in making choices for people. I just believe in presenting the facts.
Exactly.
Yes.
I can show you what I went through and what I'm going through, but you're going to have to make your own decision.
Mhm.
And how bad, because there's people out there that will get it. And I can see if they got it, they'll be better. They just don't want it. And if you don't want it, I can't make you want it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, life is full of choice, and that's what people are asking for is choice. But with part of that choice is a responsibility. And when they make that decisions, the same thing with Max and vaccines and whatever in choice in life, stand by it.
Mhm.
Yep.
and I would say also don't take on this horrific experience by yourself. Welcome your family and friends
Yes.
into to your life and let them share that time with you. They won't know exactly what you're going through, but if it wasn't for my family and friends that were constantly around me doing that whole ordeal, I don't know how I would have made it. So don't put yourself in a cocoon like a lot of people do. They don't want anybody to know what's going on with them. And some things might be private, but this is one of those things where you're going to need that support. You're going to need that support around you, and you're going to need to show your family and friends that you're okay.
Mhm.
Because it's all a collective effort, in getting well and staying healthy. So, any other last comments from the host before we wind down?
Well,
And
I want to tell Mr. Shawn, thank you so very much. This has been very enriching, enlightening, and prayerfully, a lot of those who are out there who are listening on Facebook or the radio's closed down now. We're off the radio now, not closed down. But hopefully they will heed your words and listen and decide to choose a healthy lifestyle as we move into 2022. And once again, as Gary Harris said, you can go to Healthy Portsmouth Facebook page and sign up. They're giving away all kinds of prizes and rewards for those people who are choosing to use to have a healthy lifestyle. So it's important for each of us to take charge of our health. And I just your enthusiasm, your knowledge is just overwhelming. And prayerfully, you helped someone today by listening to you on the radio show. So I want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I want to hear that Norfolk State before we go off from here now. Okay.
Right.
Colonel.
Yeah, Shawn, thank you for everything. And like I like to say is yes, and I echo what Leah said, but I also take this pass and saying for those who are out there, check off that piece on your driver's license
Yes.
or whatever ID saying that you will be a donor when that date comes. And then second, talk to your family so they will understand that yes, this is your wish. There is no need taking a heart, a kidney, or whatever down to the funeral parlor and stick it in the ground when you can help so many people, especially our people that's going to need that. And I think we had a guest a couple times ago that talked about donations and stuff, and that he was a proprietor for a funeral home.
Yeah.
And I have to call him out now that I'm thinking about it. And we have this misnomer that, yes, they are going to mess the body up. Nobody will know the difference that you donate a heart.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I have to call out the fallacies of these shysters out there. I'm going to have to call them out now. That needs to be done. And so take heed. Help us out.
Yeah. Be an organ donor.
Yeah, be an organ
Be an
donor.
organ donor. Yes.
Yes.
Be an organ donor. And thank you, everyone. We appreciate it, and especially you, Shawn, for coming on and sharing your story and everything you had to say today. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to bringing you back and talk about some other subjects, because we know
I thank you guys. I feel like I'm on the big time now. I did something today.
Now it's big time after I've gone back to watch your podcast. And all. That's big time now. When we can grow up to be like you, then we're going to be in a much better place, Shawn.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm honored for you to say that.
Yes, and we encourage everyone to watch Shawn Connors and his podcast, the 757 Renaissance Man and the LVAD the podcast, especially, they're very not I'll give it say entertaining. Well, entertaining, but they're very enlightening.
I'm trying to put a little bit of both in there. Yeah. I don't want to just teach you to death. But if I can, let me give a quick shout out. I have a passion project. I started a group because it's not a lot of us that are content creators. So I started a group called the Content Creators of Color Collective. We're affectionately called.
You said content creators?
Content Creators of Color Collective.
Okay.
And we're affectionately called C4.
Okay.
And we're doing a 30-day podcast challenge. This is the second one we're doing. And this time we decided to do it during the month of February because Black History Month. So it's 15 other podcasters / content creators. And we all have to put out an episode every day for the month of February. And you can find our work at c4challenge.com.
Okay, thank you for that.
C4challenge.com.
Yep. And you can find me at LVADtalk.com and 757renaissanceman.com.
Okay.
And you're on YouTube as well. So
Yes.
Well, thanks again, Shawn. We appreciate that. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
our community,
and our future.
I need one of them cups.
You have one. I have one for you. I have one for you. Okay. I'll make sure that James get it to you. Okay.
All right.
Thanks again. And remember, join us next week, next Monday, as we're doing Black History Month. We will be featuring Black radio in the Hampton Roads area. And our special guest will be Chester B from the radio days back in the day. So please join us then. I'm sure you'll be educated on Black media, and encourage you to continue to support Black media here in Black owned and operated media. Appreciate it. Thank you. Take care. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Just 1 minute. Let me do this.